Hey guys, this is Mani Chopra here, and welcome to another episode of Back to Big podcast. Basically, we speak to successful property entrepreneurs each and every week, and we discuss their journey and their learnings. And we want to highlight the opportunities, risks, and the market trends for you while speaking to the successful property entrepreneurs. As for myself, I'm an award-winning property developer, the author of Cash Rich, Time Rich, host of the Team Titans property networking event, which we run from the Crown Plaza every second Thursday of the month. And today, my guest is none other than Piotr Rusinek. Welcome, Piotr.
Thank you, Mani. It's great to be on this show with you.
Thank you very much for coming, and I know how busy you are. So I'd like to just firstly introduce you formally, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Piotr is an auction-savvy CEO and co-founder of Hamid, a company dedicated to helping property investors navigate the auction world and sell their properties for the best price without extra costs. With over 10 years of experience in auction property trading, Piotr has become a respected expert along in the field. And alongside Jay Howard, he has co-authored the Amazon bestseller Before the Hammer Falls. And now Piotr is hoping to make the property auction process more approachable for everyone. Piotr and Jay also run the Auction Buyers Club, a network for property professionals and high net worth individuals and investors looking to expand their property portfolios. So whether you're an experienced investor or just starting out, Piotr's insights and expertise will guide you to the exciting world of property auction. So Piotr, welcome
Yeah,
once again. We just wanted to do this introduction so people know a little bit of background about you.
super good. Yeah, thanks for introducing me, and yeah, looking forward to
The
this
talk.
show.
Brilliant. So, Piotr, let's take you back to when you started out in property. And what were you doing back then? Did you always just do property? Did you have other jobs, other businesses? We would like to share a bit of insight into that, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Uh, the way I started with property is actually pretty funny because I studied economics and finance, and after that, and that was in Scotland, in Aberdeen, and I graduated first class honors. And I never wanted to go to study in a corporation. I wanted to come to London and look for a job in a small company, and I wanted to start this kind of London journey in a special way. So I signed myself up for a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Many people may have heard of Vipassana. So I went with Vipassana. That was December 2012, and I arrived there about 4:30, and it was starting at 6:30 p.m. So I just kind of bumped into a few people. I introduced myself, and one of the guy who was there, he's like, I basically said I'm going to London look for a job in a property, in look for a job in whatever. And he said, what have you done? What have you doing? And I said, I studied finance, economics. And he's like, well, I've got a property company. Why don't you give me a call when you finish this? So went to silently meditate for 10 days. And afterwards, we met up in London, and basically he offered me a job in his company, which was to do with just going to auctions and basically speak to people who want something and try to basically offer them bridging services. It was I was so bad at it. Was really really bad at it. So he tried to kind of find me something that I would be good at, and I started basically looking for properties for clients, and that was kind of mostly Indian clients. Like the whole company was kind of predominantly Indian. I was the kind of non-Indian person in the company. But I was working Paddington, Maidavale, St John's Wood, like searching for properties and basically getting people to buy them and then manage those things for them. And it was quite an eye-opening thing because 2011 and 12 was quite a buoyant kind of it wasn't buoyant. It was the market was about it was growing quite rapidly.
Just after the credit crunch, right?
Yeah,
So,
because everyone was kind of like tiptoeing, should I do it, should I not do it? But actually, the prices were increasing quite significantly in that period, and it was a great way to learn. So
Sounds very interesting.
that's
So
how I
you
started.
became effectively a buying agent for in
Yeah,
auctions?
yeah. Not only in auctions, it was through agents, through auctions, and
Okay.
it was the time where kind of buying properties in central London, like in those Paddington, Maidavale areas, and renting them out to LHA people was really the way to make a lot of money. It was like
Oh,
10% returns, and yeah.
brilliant. Well, quite exciting actually. And the silent meditation sounds amazing. This is something that I probably have never considered because I don't think I'd ever be able to do it. How did you find that?
Well, as a student, you kind of get to see, hear about a lot of things, and I was like, let me just try something
And were you
unusual.
silent for 10 days? No talking at all?
Yes, you actually you're silent for 9 days, and then on the 10th day you can start talking to people, so you get back to kind of normal operation in the world, basically.
So what did
As
you do for those 9 days? Just walk? Or, I mean, what?
you
Just sit?
meditate for it's a sitting meditation, so you meditate for about 10 hours a day in a meditation hall.
They teach you.
They teach you, yeah, they teach, and then you eat, you go for walks, and in the middle, and then you go to sleep, basically, and you wake up, you do the same.
Was it challenging or no? You.
Yeah, yeah, it was challenging. It's obviously it's not for like it's not a holiday. It's the kind of thing you have to go in with some sort of intention and
Yes,
some
a
sort of
purpose.
like a purpose, because otherwise it is difficult. But if you have a purpose, you actually go there, and it's very beneficial. And basically, it's the kind of thing you do it for free. So you sign up for this, you have to apply, and you do it for free. And at the end of the 10 days, if you feel that it benefited you, then you can contribute. But they would not take contributions from anyone who didn't do it, or it's only people who've done this to contribute, so that other people in the future can benefit from this as well. So it's actually a great concept.
And did you feel that it was a lot of introspect? You know, you think about your life, your journey, and were your purpose fulfilled? I mean, I don't want you to share it if you don't
Yeah,
want to, but
no, it's
was it?
okay. It's okay. You don't actually get to think about those things. Like it's a very kind of yeah, introspective thing, but you get to focus on your sensations in the body, and kind of like it's very, yeah, it's very like you get away from thinking. You get away on actually sensing things, and doing things that are more intuition based, but you just focus on sensations in the body, and obviously thoughts come up, all sorts of other thoughts and emotions and all sorts of things, so it can be quite deep experience. And also, if you can imagine, like, probably never in our life we go about our lives without mobile phone, without books, newspapers, a phone, like laptops,
No.
other people, or even like there's on that meditation street, you cannot even make eye contact with people or touch anyone. It's like it's very like insulated. So you're there
Yeah.
with lots of other people, but everything is structured. So you get to experience life in a different way, and experience your body, experience everything else in very different ways.
And would you do it again? Is the trick, is the question?
Yeah, I actually did it. Yeah, I did it again, and that was about 2 years afterwards. Yeah.
And again, similar experience?
Yeah, it was very different because when you go on again, you kind of have expectations, and then you have to fight with those expectations, and
Yes.
it's a different experience every time you do it, and for every person it's different as well, because we all have different ways of approaching things,
And different
different
purposes
history,
that we go in
different
with, right?
purpose. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Brilliant.
it's
Well,
I would always recommend it to everyone, if they if they can commit for 10 days, it's a great thing.
hmm, amazing. Well, let's get back to property. But so, yeah, so you obviously almost very instantly after your degree, you found this job and you were doing this as a buying agent for many investors. And then how, from there on, then what was next then?
From there on, after 2 years of working in a company, I was like, okay, let's take a break. Let's think about what I want to be doing exactly. So I was actually I became a football coach for children under 9, and I was 6 months, and then I was like, okay, no, there's no money in this, and there's money in property. Let me go back to properties and start. I was basically became a buying agent, but after some experiences of like prolonged, very prolonged transactions, 18, 24 months, where there was like massive amount of fees coming in, but it was all on paper and it was all kind of like you cannot really count on it if it's your business. So, and some of the transactions fell through and I was devastated. I was like, no, this is private treaty, not for me. Definitely. Like I want to do auctions, I want to do things where the things are quick. Even if you know you didn't get something, you can start focusing on something else. Like
You can move on to the
for
next deal or the next auction or whatever.
exactly, yeah. So I kind of became a bit of a kind of auction geek and started going to auctions, following a lot of things and helping people buy, helping people sell. And slowly, slowly, I kind of got to the stage where I was like, okay, there's so many people asking me very same questions. So it would be really good to put things into one kind of resource and write a book and approach Jay Howard, which probably few people know. He was an
Yes.
auction manager at Auction House London at the time, and I was doing a lot of business at Auction House London. So I said, Jay, would you like to write a book with me? And Jay said yes. We spent about 5 or 6 months doing weekends and writing the book and putting things together. We really enjoyed the process. We launched the book. It was a bit of a success. And we're thinking, like, okay, maybe we can do more things together. And maybe there's some few, like there's a way of doing
Synergy.
business
Yeah.
together, yeah. And we've been now business partners for about 4 or 5 years,
Wow.
something
So
like
but
that.
this is the auction buying club. Is that correct?
Auction Buyers Club is a kind of thing that we did for the last 3 years. But with Jay, we do actually quite a few things. We You could break it down into three things really. We sell things for clients. We buy and sell things for ourselves. So we trade properties. We did some really good deals, some yeah, average deals, but we do things ourselves. And also we help people buy within the Auction Buyers Club. So it's sort of a consultancy, sort of a club for people who are committed to buying things in auctions and they want to kind of get yeah, help with analyzing things and doing stuff in this kind of high pressure environment. So those are the three things that we're doing really with Jay.
So in terms of trading deals for yourself, then what is your like? Do you have specific strategies, or you just go with anything that can make money, or and do you have any specific locations? What's your sort of overarching strategy for yourself and for Jay?
I guess overarching strategy is we tend to focus on things that are very much a paperwork exercise. We don't really like doing refurbs. We don't like doing things that are risky, like even getting planning is quite a risky thing. We like to buy things that are possibly income generating. They've got potential to be turned into something, and we can do it from our desks. So I'm based in Lisbon. Jay's based in Rushden. And we're not very we're kind of location agnostic, so we don't care where the property is, as long as we can add value and we know who's gonna buy this from us in the later stage, and that's how we approach things.
And is it just commercial or residential? Do you do both?
We do both, but it's much easier to do add paperwork value to commercial property. And also commercial property's got a bit less competition because not many people know how to approach it. So we even have some or like some cash buying companies basically coming to us and telling us, well, we know how to handle residential, we buy and sell things all the time, but when something commercial comes, we like what to do with it. So basically, they send us the leads that they have for commercial properties. We help them analyze it and kind of assess what can be done with it. So we tend to specialize more in commercial, but if there's something residential, we can do it. We don't tend to do it because there's more competition. It's the kind of thing that's just much more difficult to work. So we tend to go with this less.
Okay.
for this.
So would you mind sharing maybe a recent deal or one of your sort of, best deals to date or something like that, like something a bit more recent that comes to mind?
Yes, I can share two deals. The
Okay.
one is the best deal to date, and the other one is the current deal we're working on. So the best one to date is are those kind of workshops that we purchased, and they were in the auction in October 2019, I believe. They were in Harman Healy auction, and we saw them, and I was like, Jay, I think we can do something with it because it looked like basically kind of like stables, kind of formal
Yeah.
stables
Yeah.
from like 1800s or 1900s, converted into some sort of workshops at the back of shops, close to residential area, and they were all rented out for about 14,700 per annum, and there were four of them. And I was like, this is £500 a workshop of about 40 to 50 square meters each. So that's a very little amount of money. And the leases were not great. And the property was priced at guide price of 160, I believe. So it was like 9% yield. And I was like, even if we get it for something like 200, it's still a really good deal. And we can raise the rents, we can possibly go for planning. I thought something could be done. Like we didn't have it exactly nailed down what can we do, but yeah, we managed to get it in the auction for our top price, like £212,000. It was exactly 7% yield, and we're like, we're not moving past that. And somehow we managed to buy this. And straight away we went for planning application, like under PD for converting that into four muse houses. It was the smoothest thing ever. We got this planning within 2 months. Um, and we got planning for four muse houses in Tooting in South London, and we're like, okay, this feels almost like it's illegal to do such a good thing in like such a short period of time because we bought some for 212,000, generating 7%, paying for itself. And then we got those four houses, and we're like, the GDV is now 1.2 million, and it will cost like 300k to do it. But because we are not big on building things, constructing, there's like too many risks with this. We're like, okay, let's put in the auction. We put it into an auction. That was in May 2020, and we managed to sell that property for 650,000. It was with
Wow.
exact same tenants, exact same paperwork. Just the planning application was the difference, and we put a CGI as well, what it would look like when it's done. And someone bought for 650k. So basically, like sold it for three times the amount within 9 months, and
Wow.
it was quite yeah. I don't know if we're ever gonna do a better deal than this one,
That's
but
amazing. At the time, that is just incredible. But did you know at the time that it had permitted development rights?
so with the permitted development rights, it is all open to certain interpretations. So we knew that this property was commercial. We knew that it had possibility of being workshops, but could also be something else. It could be storage, and if the council says it's storage, then it doesn't have PD rights. But if we can prove it that this is light industrial workshops, then it's got PD. So there were always those kind of things where
Gray areas, yeah.
gray areas where you think you might get something, but if the council is stubborn, you might not. But we were lucky, so we managed to basically put like a really good case for this is like industrial workshops. This is what it did, and yeah, we got the planning basically within 56 days.
You were very lucky with the planning as well, I'd say. Well, it was PD
It was PD, yeah.
because planning would have been now planning is so difficult now.
Yeah, planning is difficult. Like we will never go really. I don't think we'd ever go for a planning application that's not a PD. Even PD is their gray areas, but uh, things can be worked out.
Yeah.
With planning applications, it's all open to interpretations. It can take 6 months, and you're still getting nowhere. And then
No,
for
absolutely.
appeal, is another 9 months. So
It drags out so much. So that is definitely an incredible deal, and thanks for sharing it. And you were mentioning another one that you may want to share, but again, don't share specifics because I know you're in the middle of doing it right now
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
That sounds good. So, I mean, we bought this commercial property in Southwest, something that was in the auction with like income of about 25K. And again, split into 3 units. Again, a landlord that owned it for like 30 years or 40 years. It's like it fit similar kind of checklist of things. We bought this for 252,000, so pretty much 10% yield on like fully commercial industrial type unit. And we thought because this landlord owned it for so long, we can definitely increase the rent. It's like it was pretty obvious. And we managed to buy the 10% yield. We kind of negotiated it down from like 312, 320 that we thought initially we'd have to offer. Um, so we went in a really good price. And then we went to tenants and we said we want to increase the rents. Like your leases are just 3 months rolling leases, and so like we want to increase rent. All of the tenants left when we said that. And we're like, okay, no problem. We'll put this basically on the rental market. And we managed to get a tenant because it's an industrial estate. There's a lot of other companies in there. We managed to get a guy who took 2 out of the 3 units. Um, and he's basically paying 26.5K per annum for 2 units that are like on the smaller side. And we've got the biggest unit, which is about 40% of the total size. And that's we've got this now up for rental. And once that's rented, we expect to be at 40K per annum income
For 200 grand purchase.
for 250, yeah. And we spent 10K on refurbs and painting stuff and
So
just like
yield is what, over 50, 18?
14, 15%,
Yeah,
something ridiculous. I'm not too kind of bothered what is our yield on this because we will put it into an auction once the last unit is let, and we're hoping to sell it. We put it with like a super attractive price, and so we just let people decide what something like that is worth nowadays.
amazing. So going back to the auctions, because obviously that's what your expertise is. Where are we in the market and in the auction space? Like, so let's maybe start off with commercial because that's your main sort of focus. How are you finding auctions at the moment, commercial auctions specifically?
So commercial auctions are like a really kind of interesting space because when we talk about commercial auctions, there are very different types of properties that are in commercial auctions. There are things ranging from like massive shopping centers to tiny little workshops and sort of small secondary or tertiary retail shops. So I think nowadays people like to buy things like in the past it used to be things where there's AAA covenants like depot names and all sorts of other boots and stuff, banks. Now people love to do deals on things that are kind of run by independent owners, like people like mom and pop shops, like kind of small things
Small
that you know that in any
startups.
kind of market, those things will generate. And even if they don't generate, like people will be trying to find ways to make the business work. While the big companies that meant to be very safe, they were trying to pull all sorts of things against landlords. So people are now kind of quite aware of this. So anything that's kind of independent, it's got potential to convert, it's doing fairly well. However, the yields have increased, the expected yields have increased in terms of what people require to buy something. So if you're trying to buy a mixed use property, like previously 8% would be phenomenal. Now 8% is kind of like 50-50 whether it's going to sell or not because the cost of borrowing has gone up to 8-9% on commercial mixed use properties. So the market is quite fluid. Things have massively came down, and if we had properties like we see in the auctions now 2 years ago, we would have thought that those are phenomenal deals. And now they look like a bit 50-50 because it's kind of we need to decide what to do with it going forward to make it into a deal. And now it's a bit more difficult with the cost of capital increasing, and also the kind of commercial tenants go through periods of cutting
Yes.
costs, perhaps, or maybe the retail market is going through the cost of through the period of cutting costs, and then the retailers have taking less money, and it
Yeah.
impacts on how they perform. So there's a lot of fluidity in the market, and lots of deals to be done.
Okay, well, so then you must be very active right now then.
Yeah, it's we are looking at a lot of things, but for us, it's important to buy things at this at the kind of level where we can then sell it for profit within a short period of time. So it's for us. It's important to pick assets that we can add value quickly to, and then sell them on to the market that's now more demanding. Because in the past it was fairly once you found an asset, it was fairly easy to kind of sell it on. Now it's things that need to be kind of polished and put together well.
Yeah.
So we, we do enjoy it.
Yes. I mean, I looked at an auction about 3, 4 weeks ago. It was a property in Reading. It was a office building. Part of the office building was already sold out, and flats were converted on long leases. So that was part of the freehold, but was not, there was no add value to that. But I think in terms of what was left of the office building, there was about 4 flats that we could convert. We had a price that we were going to put on it, and I think it was just over 500,000 we were going to bid on it. But I think it went for over 700 grand or something. It was 200 or 250 grand over what we were thinking of paying for it. This was in Caversham in Reading.
Yeah, I know that
Not,
building. It was an Acutus auction, and
yes.
it was guided at 400 or 350 or something like
Yes, it
that.
was actually. Yes.
Yeah,
We already had all the money ready. We had everything, but it went for way more than what we wanted to pay for it. And
yeah.
it obviously
Well,
was
what
an
did you want
Anglo.
it to pay for it? 500?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So that
great.
was it. But it went seven, I can't remember now exactly, but it went for like a lot of money.
Yeah, it was about 675 or
It's
something like
85, I
that.
think. Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know because one of our auction price club members was looking at that lot as well, and he was preparing to bid for it, and he was bidding as well. So yeah,
We didn't even get the chance. We were looking to when are we going to get in to bid, but
yeah,
then in the end there was two people just took it away. It just went like literally
yeah.
so quickly.
Yeah,
And
and
so
I think that that's a phenomenal lot to kind of it is an example to how you can approach things before the auction, because it's like it was guided something like 350 or something like that. It was a bit of a fund selling it. And I think if you guide things at 350 and someone comes in and offers 500, sellers would seriously consider that, especially in this market. But then when the bidding happened and like 500 was not enough to buy it, right?
yeah,
So I always encourage people, like, if you know a number that the property works for you, like it's worthwhile going in in before the auction and making that offer, because if you're finding it in like attractive at this level, there will probably other people who are finding it attractive. But putting that kind of offer way in advance of the auction to the seller will always make them think.
yeah. No, I mean we tried, and I know some of them don't. So what's your strategy then? UNJ, do you tend to offer on most of your deals pre-auction, and what sort of percentages you manage to actually secure them pre-auction?
Um, so it's varies from deal to deal. We don't really work on percentages. We just if we like something, we offer, and then we see what's going to happen. But like you say, it depends on who the seller is and the circumstances, and also the prices that you can offer. Like comparing to the demand. So, in general, we tend to do things before the auction. That's the best way. If we have to go to auction, we go to auction. We like doing things also post auction where there is kind of less urgency to do stuff, but still, if you come in at the right level and you know the backstory, why something didn't sell or what could have been wrong with the property, those are the kind of good strategies that we're trying to exploit.
So, in terms of your location, then, do you have a specific auction houses that you follow, or do you just look at any commercial auction that's going through and then look at all the catalogs? And then, obviously, very quickly, you can probably work out whether this is a specific deal that it works for you, or how do you guys sort of
Yeah,
do it?
we tend to work like look at smaller auctions, smaller commercial auctions, because and also other non-commercial auctions, because the thing with auctions is if you go to look for something where everyone is looking for it, you're not gonna do great deals. Like something has to be kind of mismatched with
Yes.
the expectations, or something has to be wrong with the property, or
Yeah.
something. There has to be something that prevents other people from doing the deal. That's gonna mean you can get this and get this at a good price because someone who came already to the auction. It means they're motivated. And if something's preventing other people from buying it, you have a motivated seller who doesn't have any money to buy this property for. And then if you know what exactly is stopping other people from buying this, you can offer something that matches sellers' expectations
Yeah.
and a good position to have that kind of offer accepted. So we tend to look for properties in more like niche auctions, or
Yeah.
like we tend to be quite opportunistic. So we look at whatever and then
Yeah.
we're like, okay, this doesn't make sense that this property is in this auction and this auctioneer is from Manchester, the property is in Reading, and the legal pack is missing, or there's like 2 days of the
Yes.
auction, there's no legal pack. We're like, this is great. These are like opportunities for something to happen.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Interesting strategy. And now that you mentioned legal packs, I was going to come to it at some point. Um, how do you analyze your legal packs? Is it yourself and Jay, or do you get somebody, a third party, in on board? Or because obviously the costs can all spiral if you're looking at, I don't know, 10 auction packs in a month or a week or whatever. I'm not sure what the numbers are yet, but we can go to that in a minute. But what do you do with the legal packs?
So the legal packs is we review them ourselves mostly because I mean we must have reviewed like I don't know tens of thousands of properties, and the legal packs are quite how to say,
Similar, I guess. There must be a
they're quite
pattern as well,
similar.
isn't it?
There's the patterns, there's like things you can expect, or if you know that something is missing from the legal pack, it means a certain problem. So we kind of like tend to know what we should expect in the legal pack, and we would get things over to a solicitor when we really know that we reviewed it, we know it's fine, or we know what questions to ask of a solicitor. And when we ask those specific questions, the solicitors can give you answers fairly quickly. So if you can do like a pre checks and pre kind of reading
Highlight
the legal
maybe like the
pack.
top three issues or something that you're not sure of.
Exactly. So then the solicitor can just like point it out to you. Okay, this, and this really kind of needs your attention, and then you can make your choices. But if you obviously send 10 legal packs to solicitor and you've done no work on this and you expect them to do the work, that's a really risky thing for them to be doing because they need to spend time and review it,
Yeah,
report to
that's
you,
right. You're paying for the
and
time.
you pay for the time. And auction is a very kind of high pressure environment. So
Yes,
you're doing things under time pressure, under pressure of like other bidders and stuff. Solicitors don't really like to get in the middle of that because if they're giving advice, you expect certain things from them. So I understand why solicitors kind of make their fees fairly high for reviewing legal packs,
fair enough, right?
but it's fairly easy to learn how to review the legal pack yourself and what to kind of look out for.
Look for.
Yeah, and we cover that in our book. It's like how to kind of do your own due diligence of the legal pack.
Okay, well, I think the good start would be reading a book to start with, for sure.
It's yeah.
And I think there's one or two things that always come up generally in everyone is the covenants. Generally, most of these titles will have some specific covenants,
Yeah.
or you can't build houses on this plot, or
Yes.
you know,
Or you cannot use it for different purpose than, I don't know, like a house for a family or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
generally, I think a lot of them you can get indemnity insurance against them, can't you? For most of them, not all of
Yeah.
them, but most of them.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, I think it's like once you know the kind of things that might come up as an issue, then if you see them, then you kind of get deeper into what you can do about those things. And
Yeah.
I don't think legal pacts are as difficult as people make them to be, but they do require a little bit of an effort
And
to be.
also because you guys are doing it day in and day out, like you said, there's a pattern emerging
Yeah,
where you know it's either this, or this. And then people
yeah.
can get that from experience. In the beginning, it all seems kind of daunting, I think, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it is. And especially like if you get disappointed by one or two properties not going away, it's like you need to take out the emotion out of that attachment to result in the auction. You just kind of have to go through a lot of things.
It's like with me, I bought a lot of properties till today, and I've never bought a single property in auction. I've had three auction bids that went completely way higher than we intended or we planned to. So I think at some point I would like to approach maybe you and Jay to
Come
help me
on,
buy
buddy. By the
first.
end of the year, you're getting a property in the auction. Deal?
100%. I would love to. Honestly, this is my dream to get a property. And that's why the Archway House, we were like, yes, we think we're going to get it. We're going, 150 grand over the asking price. We've done all the legwork. And,
Yeah.
I think it's a numbers game as well, though, isn't it? I guess you need to do enough and then hopefully you'll get something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So do you think right now where we are at, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? What's your kind of gut feeling? I know interest rates are going up and up and up, and I think it's going up again because the Fed has just increased the rates apparently yesterday in the US. So we reckon
Yeah.
we're going to go up to about 4.5% next week on
Yeah.
May. What are your thoughts generally? Is it a now that because you're so regular, is it buyer's market in the auction? Is it a seller's market right now? Where are
Yeah,
we at?
100%. It's the buyer's market. Like buyers can dictate the terms, and yeah, if you're a seller, you really need to kind of you're looking at much lower number of buyers for your properties that you were before, and yeah, it's definitely buyer's market. If you're
Yeah.
a
So
buyer,
people are, oh, so it's a good time to, if someone like me or someone's looking to maybe expand their portfolio, this is a good time to look then and
yeah, definitely.
find a
If you have
deal.
a vision for what you want to buy and how you want to kind of um, like how your portfolio kind of is going to grow, then I think auctions are a great place to be buying things right now.
So one of the things that we are focusing on right now is buying vacant bank buildings and using Class MAPD rights. Do you think there's a lot of those bank deals up in the catalogs as well right now?
Bank deals,
Yeah,
but
like empty bank buildings, so you can
okay.
use PD to convert uppers and all. Is there any of those in the
Um,
auctions?
yeah, so what I see a lot is the banks that are coming up that have like 3 to 5 year on the leases left, and banks don't really like signing up deals, leases kind of longer than a few years nowadays. So there's a lot of those things coming. There aren't that many empty buildings, but they do come up as well. It's I guess so. We're not that focused on those kind of deals, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
not your
just
strategy. Yeah, yeah,
not our
yeah.
cup of tea. But you will find a lot of them, I think, in the auctions.
Yeah, maybe now is the time to then maybe grab my first auction deal.
Yes, 100%. Get yourself an EAG membership.
Yes,
Good luck.
100%. Let's talk about that offline. There was one more thing I wanted to also touch with you, underwriting. I know that's another key sort of strategy that some people use, when looking at auctions. Could you maybe explain a little bit about what that is and whether you and Jay also managed to do that at all or have ever done it in the past or planning to do it?
Yeah, we've done it many times, and it's I wouldn't say it's so much of a strategy. It's more of a additional kind of tool in your buying kind of
Toolbox. Yeah.
toolbox, because what underwriting is, it's kind of like a promise to the buyer, to the seller, that you're gonna buy their property for an X amount, but this property is still being offered in the auction. So you kind of like guarantee them a certain price, and it's a private agreement between you, seller, and the auction house. It's facilitated by the auction house, and you guarantee a certain price, and you agree that this property is being offered in the auction, and if it doesn't reach the price you guys agreed, you still buy it at the price. So, like, whatever happens, this is the minimum price the seller
Yeah.
gets, and it's if the property is offered in the auction and sells for more, then the agreement is that the upside of the difference between what you agreed and what the property sells for is shared. So the profits are shared between the seller and the underwriter.
So
So
let's say I
it's
offer 500,000 for a property. It
yes.
goes for £550,000.
Yes. So
I
there's that
make
50K
25.
difference.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you make 25 more or less. The auction house takes a bit for
The
commission,
fees. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
fees
sure.
and other things. So let's say you take 40% just to kind of make it easy so that you get 20K. The seller gets 20K above the 520, and that's the auction house gets a bit for the setting up of that agreement. So basically that's the way this
Ah,
would work. And the best thing is for the seller is, yeah, they are giving away a bit of that profit, but they have got a guarantee that the property is going to reach to a certain level, and also they have a backup buyer. So if the buyer at 550 pays deposit, but something happens, they don't complete, then the property goes to the underwriter, and the underwriter
ah,
has to basically buy them for the 500K that they promised. So it's a bit of an insurance policy for the sellers, but it's also a bit of an insurance policy for the buyers. Because let's say if you were to underwrite that Caversham property at 500K at your top price, right? Let's say it went for the 675 that you didn't win it, but because you were at 500 underwrite, it's okay because you're getting like whatever 60 70K,
yeah,
more or less. Like you would have something to wipe your tears
yes.
with, right?
Quite a big amount to wipe your tears. No, I mean, look, we tried to underwrite it, but we couldn't. They didn't accept it. So I think in some cases they don't accept. I think no,
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the seller has to be open to it. There has to be the right like
the right deal.
the right deal and the right circumstances for this to work. But also the best thing about the underwrite for the underwriter as well is, like, let's say you underwrite it, and then you still can bid on the property. Let's say like a different company or different entity, and you bid up to 675. You fight with this buyer and you offer 676. So you offered 676, and then you have an underwrite at 500. So basically, that difference between 500 and 676, you get 40% back of every pound that you bid. So you actually have an advantage over the person who you're bidding against because you have this underwriting agreement in place. And the seller still is happy because they still got the guarantee of everything. There's a lot of benefits, and it's the kind of agreement that has to work on both sides. And people look at it as, yeah, I can make quick profits. It's not really designed for making quick profits because otherwise sellers wouldn't do this. It's like you need to offer almost the price that
You would have bid to
you would
maximum.
have bid to anyway, and then it's up to the seller to decide, is this worthwhile for me? Should I just offer it? Should I risk getting less? There are all sorts of kind of considerations, but
Yeah.
it's really a good backup for both buyers and sellers. And I always suggest people to do it only if you have real intention of owning the property, buying it, and then doing something with it, because otherwise it becomes a bit of a gamble and dangerous
Sure, I agree.
thing.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. A couple of other questions. So, in terms of your own auction strategies, then, when you talk about property trading, do you mean that you would buy, you would exchange on the property and then try and sell it between exchange and completion, or would you generally exchange, complete, and then do something with it, add value, and then put it on a different auction? How do your strategies work?
Yeah, so there are situations where we just exchange and put the property back into an auction without doing anything, maybe putting a CGI, maybe just presenting it slightly differently. There are situations where we exchange and we add value and then try to sell it. And there are situations where we just buy the property and then add value while owning it and then sell it as actual owners of it. So um, yeah, we do anything, whatever we can. Like our basic strategy is to spend as much resources on something as possible, control the property, and then try to sell it as quickly as possible for as much profit as possible.
Why
So
not?
everything else, the different variations of it depends what we can get away with in terms of sellers' expectations,
Yes.
market, and stuff like that.
So you guys don't generally hold property. This is your main strategy is auctions, trading properties. You're not really looking to hold on to properties, build up a buy-to-let portfolio, anything of that sort.
We will at some point. It's like I know that right now we must focus on trading. We help other people sell things, and I think holding property is great long term, but it's rather slow way of making money, because you have to like wait for the market to do its thing, right? Um, that is a great thing, but we'd rather kind of build our position in the market, do things in ways that generate cash and generate things fairly quickly, so that then we're still in the middle of the all the situations we see what the market does, and we can start buying and utilizing that capital to buy our own things and hold
And
them.
create your own portfolio eventually.
Yeah.
So in terms of right now where we are at, are you kind of excited about the near future, 2023? What does that bring to you? What are your, where do you see the opportunities are, where the risks are, what are the market trends? A bit of that prediction time, really, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm super excited about things because number one, we're rebranding things around Hammered and how we operate, becoming a bit of more of a technological kind of company. So we do have a lot of knowledge about auctions, but it's not all about kind of us knowing things. It's also about how things flow. So like we've got this vision for creating a company that's kind of technologically driven, that allows people to sell things through an auction for the best price and kind of hassle free. And we want to open up that market. There's a lot of things around artificial intelligence that kind of are coming through and are assisting people in making things super efficient. And we would like to see that in auctions. We're in talks with a couple of people about creating products and services using AI that will help property investors do amazing things. And yeah, and I think it's also a great market for buying things. And in 2 3 years, we'll be like, those deals out there were amazing. And I think we're in this kind of market where in 2 3 4 years time we'll be like, we should have been buying things, we should have been doing things. So yeah, definitely excited. And yeah, it's great times for be investing basically.
So great time to buy. You're saying that deals are out there, especially commercial auctions. There's not many people buying because of the cost of money. Do you particularly work with private investors as well, or do you tend to just use bridging? What sort of Yeah, we haven't touched on the finance, the funding side.
Yeah,
Actually, would you mind maybe sharing a little bit about how you guys fund your deals? And
yeah.
yeah, just about that
Yeah,
really.
yeah, we tend to buy things basically using private finance. We don't really like using bridging. I mean, we do use bridging occasionally, but very rarely. It's there's like a lot of cost involved with bridging, and we've got quite a bit of a group of people around us who lend us money, and they're happy kind of working with us. And yeah, it's mainly private finance and kind of using our own funds as well.
Oh, brilliant. Obviously, you're trying to just recycle your money, right? But
Yeah,
when you trade.
yeah.
That's the beauty about trading is when you build up your pot and then you can just go again and again, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of our goal to keep building up the pot and basically getting increasing it, and then at some point adding more to the portfolio.
Okay, so when someone like me who comes to you and says we've never bought a property to auction, uh, would you do some sort of consultation with them, work out what their budget is, what they want to do? Is that how would you sort of kick off that sort of thing?
Um, yeah, I mean, when we kind of get approached by people who've never done anything in the auctions, definitely like this is the first step. By reading our book, it's that gives enough information to get started, and not only get started, but kind of get comfortable around auctions and the all the kind of
Sure.
dynamics of it.
Yep.
Once you're kind of at the level where you've seen some auctions, you've followed some catalogs, you've seen what the things sell for, you're kind of ready to progress. Where maybe you kind of want to get into a live workshop, or like the recording of the workshop that we created, where kind of dive deeply into the things that happen in auctions, because there's like auctions of quite a professional environment, so you want to know how traders tend to do things, so you don't get caught out by the kind of shiny things. So we help people kind of with that through workshops, and then people can join our auction bars club. We'll kind of go more in depth with like deal analysis and things that happen and how people buy things. So it we don't handhold people. It's not kind of environment where you want to be handholding people. It's a bit of a auctions are like a motorway. You don't want to handhold someone for that. You want to make sure that they learn how to drive. You want to make sure that they get into the right car, and kind of then navigate them through the auctions, the motorway kind of environment. But it
Yes.
is a dangerous place if you just kind of like a amateur and you being naive about things. So we tend to kind of advise people to go slowly and just yeah learn step by step.
Start following auctions, looking at, what is happening in the market right now, and so that makes sense. And again, just like so, to closing down towards the end of the podcast now, but what do you think in terms of because people generally say auction is an indicator of what's going to happen in the property market, let's say 2, 4, 5, 6 months from now. So do you feel like in the open market, where, because what you just said with auctions right now, it's a buyer's market. Do you think that's going to translate into the open market as well?
Definitely, the interest rates, the ability to raise finance, the appetite for taking risks, those things are all kind of reducing. And the more that reduces, the more there will be transactions that fall through with solicitors, the more kind of people just kind of lose their interest in doing property, maybe because of regulations, maybe because of other things. So there's a lot of factors that kind of reduce the appetite for people to be investing, and yeah, I think in about I think that's the kind of way things are going
Are
currently.
going that way. So you think
Yeah.
it's a great time to like you start looking for deals because if you can negotiate better prices, obviously more profit, and you can buy them below market value, maybe 5, 10%, whatever that might be.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes even more. It's
And you think the immediate threat for, because I mean, they're saying there are two imminent interest rate rises coming up. You think that's going to bring the commercial auctions down even more? Maybe you think people might, like you
um,
said, be a bit more risk averse with all the banks collapsing around you in the US and what have you as well. All that's probably playing a part in it as well.
I think there's a lot of people in the market with a lot of cash. Some people don't need to rely on finance, uh, and they're just waiting for opportunities. So I don't think things will fall massively because there's enough kind of uh, money flying around, and people have the pensions. People have kind of they have assets that they can utilize as well. So I don't think prices will drop massively, but there will be certain situations where the deals that are being done are incredible, and that they are like that because of the lack of demand, the lower demand, and not such a great supply of credit.
And I think another interesting thing that I've noticed as well, because I'm also bidding not on the auctions, but I'm bidding on a lot of different deals on the open market. And my focus primarily this year is on vacant office buildings and banks to use up the Class MA permitted development rights. And we're finding a lot of the larger covenants. So, for example, the one I'm bidding for right now, there was a massive Planet Organic shop, and they were paying about 120 grand rent.
Where's that
Only
one?
just
Or was
so
it were you bidding? Oh,
it was so the back it was bidding for NatWest Bank, and next to it was Planet Organic,
I
paying
see.
120 grand rent. Just closed down last week.
Really? Wow.
I mean,
Planet
it's a very,
Organic is a great place. How did they close down?
apparently the company's gone bust.
No way. Oh, this was a company where, like, when I was working in Paddington, like 2011, 12, we had an office on Westbourne Grove, and that was basically I used to always spend time in Planet Organic having the lunch there.
Apparently,
So,
the lunch menu. I haven't tried the lunch menu, but maybe actually, maybe I should correct myself. Maybe they're not going bust, but this particular shop they couldn't
yeah,
afford because it was 120 grand rent a year, and maybe they're just trying to uh, prioritize which shops to keep and which shops to keep, shut. So they're trying to, I think, maybe I don't know.
yeah, I understand. Oh wow, this is a bit of a news. I'm gonna research it a bit more because now you got
Yeah,
me
have a
curious.
look at it. This is the one in Henley. Henley's just
Yeah,
closed down last week, which is what the one I was bidding for the bank. So maybe they're keeping some and closing down some. We don't know, but definitely this one's closed down. It was a big sign outside. The staff wouldn't let you in. They're saying we're closed, we're leaving. They were packing things away, and it said a big closed down board
yeah.
outside. So
Oh,
yeah,
sad story.
but
But
that's what
that
I
means
mean.
opportunities as well, I guess.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that helped us make the right offer for the bank next door because at one point we were thinking of bidding, a larger amount. And then we thought, well, actually, Pan Organic's gone bust. That's next door. What other businesses are going, who are, so business, what our thought process was that business owners or, owner occupiers are not going to be able to, they're not going to pay that sort of rent.
Mhm.
So, going back and calculating our GDV on a smaller rent, and therefore, be a little bit less than what we were going to plan to initially. So, do you know what I'm saying? Things are changing constantly in the market,
Exactly, yeah.
and the businesses are closing down, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, due to extra costs, high rents, staff costs, supplies, materials, food's gone up as well. Inflation is not helping really. So, thank you so much for your time, Piotr. Before we go, I just thought, tell me, I know you, what is it that you do in your spare time, and what is it that motivates you and gets you out of bed every morning?
Yeah, well, I live in Lisbon, like I said, and in Lisbon there's a lot of outdoor activities that you can be involved with. So I do love playing beach volleyball. It's
Oh,
my number one thing around here. So it's yeah, a few 3, 4 times a week I go to the beach, play beach volleyball 2, 3 hours. It's a really great thing. I'm a bit into jiu-jitsu, um, and
oh,
um, yeah, things like that. And just like I like keeping active.
and I think you mentioned Ayurvedic was treatments. So,
Ayurvedic retreats, yeah, it's like anything which is kind of fairly exotic and a bit, how to say, like Eastern kind of
culture.
cultures. I do like those things. I went to Thailand recently for a Muay Thai kind of jiu-jitsu retreat for a month, and yeah, anything that kind of stuff, like it really excites me. I don't like just kind of spending
But
Christmas or some other things, just eating and doing stuff. I like to get out and
action. You're more of an
action.
action, but you like doing things and you enjoy actually trying different things.
Yeah, yeah,
Exciting. And
100%.
Lisbon sounds really exciting, but we haven't talked about that. How's life in sunny Lisbon?
It's amazing. It feels like sometimes you go to those kind of locations which are exotic, and people usually come here to like play golf and kind of solve their businesses. They just looking to quiet down your life. Like Lisbon is exact opposite. It's a bit like London, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, where everyone is coming here. People have ambition. People like they want to do things. They don't just come here to like spend 5 years and die. They come to like live their
Live.
lives, great businesses, do amazing things. So it feels amazing, and at the same time, it's kind of an environment where people are much more like pleasant, like nice, and
Yeah.
they just enjoy life, which isn't great when you're trying to get things done, but it's great when you like just enjoy things. So
Oh,
yeah,
amazing. I was there in November 2022. Absolutely loved it. Obviously, it was a short break, just for 4 days, but absolutely loved it. And wishing you all the very best. Thank you so much
thank
for
you
your
very
time
much.
today. And I'm so looking forward to your talk at the Titans event on Thursday, the 11th of May. So look forward to seeing you in London. And all the very best.
Thank you so much, and enjoy this show.
Thank you, Piotr.